Thanks for joining me this week on the show. Today I want to have a conversation with you. We've been through a lot over these last few weeks. This is my first solo episode following the election here in the US. And as a stress buster, I think it's important to take a check-in and to look at the things we can be doing to help ourselves feel more calm, more competent, more capable, and ready to meet what is coming next. So we can connect and we can grow through this together. Thank you for joining us. It's time to flip the script on stress and learn how to thrive today and throughout your days. Join me for inspiration and interviews with folks who are shining their light in the world in the areas of positive mindset, health, and well-being. I'm your host, Susie Vine. Let's get happified. Welcome back. I am so happy to have you with me this week on the show for a personal conversation between the two of us. Perhaps if what we talk about today feels like something that could support a friend, I hope you will share this episode with them. I am happy to be back with you. And over the last couple of weeks here in the US, we have just experienced our presidential election, and people are moving forward with a lot of different emotions. And it's easy to say, it's easy to recognize that this emotion has caused a lot of stress. For some people, for quite a while, maybe throughout the past year, through the campaign, certainly the process of the election, and even still, thanks to our system of government, although the results are not quote unquote official, we all have a pretty good idea of what things are moving into going forward. And while I say that, I hesitate because as much as we think we know the story that is being written, I'm pretty sure we are going to be up for some surprise plot twists along the way. So today, I want to check in with you. I want to remind you about the tools that we have at our access and our capacity to be resilient, because that is what we need to do right now. So thank you for joining me. And regardless of your political affiliation, I hope that you will find support in this message. Now, it's probably going to become apparent where my political feelings lie, and I will share right up front that I am a part of a family that has been very divided by this election. So if that sounds familiar to you, know that I can relate. And with Thanksgiving right around the corner, I hope that I can share some perspectives that help you feel more calm as you're moving into some holidays that also might be stirring up some uncomfortable emotions. So thank you for making this time to join me. Thank you for making this time for yourself, because right now, taking care of ourselves, feeling secure, feeling safe, regardless of what you expect to be coming around the corner, is very important. So let's dig in. This is going to be a short conversation. I know that you're busy folks. We've got a lot of work to do. So let's just check in. Now, I will say, and with my experience in stress coaching and the awareness of the impact of stress and the way that we respond to it, I will be the first to admit, because I like to be honest with you, that I was definitely leaning on my coping tools for a good week after the election. Now, I know that there are ways to make it through, to lean on other habits, and I made the choice to comfort myself in some ways that might not ultimately be the most healthy, with the awareness that I was making that choice and that I was going to be coming back to the habits and the patterns that I know support myself. So if you have been in that pattern of coping lately, I see you. I understand that need for comfort and consolation, and I hope you're going to find some inspiration here with me today to start to come out of that pattern and to recognize that we all need to be present. We need to be in full capacity. And as I said, whatever your opinion of where things have been and where they should be going. We all need to be engaged in this process, because politics ultimately are the representation of what we, the people, believe is important. And our work doesn't stop on election day. It only is a benchmark, it's an indicator, and as we all know, every 2 years, every 4 years, there are elections that come along every year, depending on what is coming up on the ballot, what issues there are to come before the people. And this is not something that we drop into and drop out of unless that's the way in which you engage in your life. Some people, that's the way they are, the way they need to be. I encourage you to be present, to be active in the ways that you can while supporting your well-being. So as I've already talked about, we've been feeling a lot of emotions lately, and I hear from people on both sides that maybe they're feeling emotions that weren't what they expected to be feeling. I want to first remind you that there aren't bad emotions. We get to feel exactly what we are feeling, and it's when we avoid emotions, we try to suppress them, tell ourselves it's not appropriate, that we're too strong to be feeling this way, and those emotions are pushed down. They're not gone. You might think that you have a leash on those emotions, but they're waiting in the wings for the opportunity to come back. A lot of times in a present moment, when we are engaged in conversation with someone, when we have an experience and we react with very high emotions, it's very, very common that emotion that immediately responds, that triggered emotion, is coming from a place in your personal history, a previous experience that is coloring the emotion as you are in it. And so, with that understanding, I hope that you see the value in acknowledging your emotions. I love the concept, the insight that emotions are energy in motion. When we allow them to pass through us, then we can release them. Right? When we try to resist the movement of emotions, that's when the trouble starts to build. So whatever emotions you have been or are feeling, and of course they're going to keep changing because they are in motion by nature, simply try to be present to them, be aware of them, find that opportunity as best you can to release those emotions. If you are in a conversation where you don't feel you can express anger, recognize it, make that promise to yourself that you're going to give it that opportunity. You're going to create that space where you can sit with that emotion and begin to move through it. Today, we're going to talk about a couple of more tools that can help you feel more in control and more confident, remind you that you have power at your access. But first, I want to really check in with how you're feeling and how you are handling these emotions. Because if we all try to hit the mute button and pretend that this is business as usual, then I see a lot of potential for eruptions, if you will, in our near future, right? Because there is a lot of change coming. We're going to be in for quite a ride. If you look back to 8 to 4 years ago, there were quite a stream of headlines, of change, of things happening. Some of them were surprising. Some of them might not have been surprising. We had a lot of emotions going on. And I think looking back on that time, so much was happening so quickly that there's a very good likelihood there are some emotions from that time, certainly from the last 8 years. We've been through a lot as a collective here in the States, globally. There's been a lot of change. And if you tune into the astrology, many astrologers are talking about the transition of the planet Pluto from the sign of Capricorn, which reflects systems and structure and the way that we do our business, into the sign of Aquarius. If any of you are theater nerds like myself, you know the musical Hair. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. It's much lighter and faster. It's about ideas. You know, we are in this blooming age of artificial intelligence. It's for a reason, right? It's in time and on time. As a human collective, we are evolving and moving through different eras, and we are at the cusp of a very different era. One thing we know is that we are going to be facing a lot of change. So what we need to find a way to do is to find calm in the midst of chaos within ourselves. So I hope you find some tools here today. If you have tools that support you, I would love for you to share those with other listeners, whether you're catching the video version of this podcast on YouTube, on Spotify. You can leave a comment on the specific episode. I always welcome your comments on the website where I post all of these episodes, and it's an easy opportunity to search through previous episodes on my website, happifiedlife.com. And of course, over in Facebook, I have my Live with Less Stress Facebook group where we continue the conversation. And right now we're in the midst of a series that I'll be telling you about before the end of this episode today. So with that reminder about acknowledging our emotions and looking for opportunities to let them move through us, I hope that you find some opportunity there to give yourself a little grace with however you're feeling. If you've been feeling like a cranky toddler, so be it. If you've been feeling like those stodgy old Muppet critics up in the box, from the Muppet Show that don't have anything good to say because there's nothing good happening, then that's where you are right now. Hopefully, you can find that capacity to look for glimmers of light and believe that there is still potential for good in the world. I believe there is a lot of potential for good in the world. I believe there are some powerful agents of change amongst us. We just need to look for them and seek them out or become one of those ourselves. So as a guest of mine said on an earlier podcast, and I'll share links to all the podcast episodes that I probably will be mentioning through the course of this conversation today, when Amelia Nagoski, the co-author of the book Burnout, Completing the Stress Cycle, joined me for a really great conversation. She shared the analogy, it's in the book, and it's a wonderful one I keep coming back to, that emotions are not caves. Sometimes they're dark, they're scary, we don't know how deep they are, we don't know how long it's going to take us to move through them. It feels like a dangerous cave. But what you need to understand, and what your history can prove to you, is that emotions are like tunnels. And as we walk through them, they're always going to open up at the end. There's going to be an exit. We don't have to be afraid to move into an emotion because it's a process. It is the motion that allows us to move and to transmute the energy of that feeling. And so if you shift your thinking to that, if you look at that feeling of dreading an emotion and say, I see you, you scary cave. I don't know what's living in there. That's why you've gotten the better of me. And you say, and now I see that you are a tunnel and I can start moving through it. I know there's going to be another side of this, and trust that process. Now, if your emotions are feeling big and scary and unbearable, I hope that you are finding someone to work with, someone to support you, whether that is a trusted friend who has a little more wisdom and perspective to help you navigate through these phases in your life, whether that is a licensed professional, whether that is a coach, someone like myself who again can just bring a little bit of perspective and some tools to help you understand how you can move through this. I don't want you to put yourself in situations of extreme terror, of fright, of re-triggering the past. If it is something that your body physically tells you're not able to do, there are resources. There is support available to you. If you need help connecting with these resources, please reach out to me. I don't work above my pay grade. I like to say I will make sure that you connect with the level of support that you are needing in order to feel safe, in order to begin and continue on your healing journey. All right. I'm really passionate about helping people rekindle or reconnect with that extraordinary capacity that we have to heal ourselves. We are designed to come back into balance and to be healthy, whether that's physically, mentally, or emotionally. And sometimes we hold on to the things that hold us back. We hold on to those wounds. It becomes our identity. And together we can recognize that that might be a chapter in your story that might inform who you are and become part of the person that you are now. Certainly we are the result of our own personal histories. And you don't have to be defined by, you certainly don't have to be limited by your previous experiences. They're there to be a lesson, and when we can find the benefit of that lesson, the reason that has come to us, the tools that that has given us, the ways in which it has made us stronger and better able to meet what life is serving up, then we can draw strength from that. And that's really the most powerful lesson we can take forward. I want to talk next about finding opportunities to come back to calm, to feel like you can step out of the chaos. And I talk on this show about coming back to balance. If balance is a triggering word for you, like it is for some people, I don't see balance as a destination. It is a journey. It is always in flux, right? We sometimes lean a little more heavily into work. We lean a little more heavily into our personal or our family well-being, what demands our energy and attention. Sometimes we feel like we have to give to everything at once. Life is very demanding. As long as we recognize it's a phase and we make sure we come back to what is supportive, what is restoring for ourselves, because we can't pour from an empty cup. Right? So yes, we can certainly be out of balance. I can understand why people get triggered by the word balance, because it feels like it's a lot to carry and it's hard to find that opportunity, but nobody else is going to take a stand for your own well-being the way that you can and the way that you should. And I don't should on you very often. I don't sit here and say there's a lot of things you should do, because your inner compass, your inner wisdom is the ultimate guide at what is best for you. And you should be the one to make a priority of your well-being. This lesson that you learn in that process is a lesson that you can carry forward. You can share this with your friends, your family, your colleagues. This is the movement that we need to take forward in the world. That when we take care of our well-being, when we make sure our needs are met and we feel safe, and I understand when we tune into the news, there's a lot of headlines out there that are designed to make us feel unsafe, because it makes us come back to the news. It makes us junkies on the media that is being skewed and slanted with stories that do not share the full story of what is going on. When we understand the forces that are at work to undermine our feelings of security, and so we control that access, we don't give them unlimited access. We come back to our well-being. We come back to what helps us feel healthy and whole. We take care of ourselves, not working from a place of fear, where we fear others, where we fear there is not enough to go around. We live in an abundant world. There is enough for us all to have a seat at the table. So without excluding or casting people into categories of other, or thinking that people's rights are undermining or stealing from our own, right? So when I say taking care of yourself first, I feel like I can say that because if you're listening to this conversation, I don't think you're the kind of person who does that to the detriment of others, right? And if this is a conversation that you say, well, and I have to take care of other people first, it's what I'm here to do. Let's have a deeper conversation about that, because there are healthier perspectives. And because when we fill our own cup, then we can pour into others from the overflow. And right now, we really need to be supporting each other, but we can't do that until we feel restored and replenished ourselves. So, bit of a disclaimer there. I hope that made some sense to you. And if you're still with me, we'll continue to move on. So from this place of feeling more restored and centered, from recognizing that we can be calm, we can take in information, we can evaluate the information that is coming into us, as I said, now more than ever, especially with the advent of artificial intelligence. There is no shortage of media. There is no shortage of messages and voices and news in the world. And more than ever, it's going to be important to discern the honesty, the integrity of what we are listening to. It's easiest to do that from a place of being well resourced and as balanced as we can be. So I encourage you in this practice of taking care of yourself to look for these opportunities. We feel like we have to be paying attention to all of the news because so much is demanding our attention and our energy, but we can't spread ourselves out that way. If we're trying to attend to everything, then nothing will get done. So starting with yourself, starting internally, finding that opportunity to rest and recover so we have the energy that we need to start to take the actions that we choose that are in our highest priority. So stay grounded as best you can. Of course, it's winter, so it's a little bit harder to get outside, but doing activities that bring you back into your body, that help you be present, whether that is exercise, walking with friends, but getting away from the screens and the digital media, getting away from this airy, high energy input kind of state that we're all in. We've all been very plugged into the news, and looking for ways to get grounded. What kind of activities can you do to bring yourself back into your body? How can you use your breath to check in with yourself, to gauge where your stress is, and to physically calm yourself down with some breath exercises by breathing in for 4 counts, holding that breath for 4 counts, by exhaling for 7 counts, a nice long extended exhale, letting all of that air drain out so that after you hold for 4 counts, with that next inhale, you get a full exchange of clean, fresh, nourishing air. That longer exhale helps you physically change the physiology within your body, the balance within your chest cavity. It helps to slow your heart. So that's a powerful exercise you can do whether you're in a meeting, you're at the dinner table, you're driving home from work. Remember that you can always come back to your breath. You can always check in with your body. You can always turn your attention to feeling the way your feet feel on the floor. Because when we get so scattered, we get up in our head, we get out of control feeling, then we can come back into our bodies, we can check in with our heart, we can tune into that inner guidance. All right, so with that power, that ability to even engage in moments of mindfulness in these activities that help us feel more grounded, then we can start to be from that calm and centered place, looking to how we can move forward. Right? What we can do from here. Because feeling helpless is certainly an emotion, a sensation that can, again, get us very into our heads and really start to put us in the spin. So stop feeling helpless as best you can. And I know that there are populations who feel like they're a target. And know that you have allies. You have an ally in me. You have an ally in groups in society who are taking a stand for you. And I believe that we are going to see collectively people standing up for each other's rights. It's hard to believe sometimes when we look around. And we also have to remember that in the course of human history, things have changed a lot. While there historically has been inacceptance, intolerance, that there never should be, the course is changing. And while not as fast as it could, or some of us feel like it should, it is changing, and it shows our capacity for change and growth. And as I said earlier, if you tune into the energies, if you put stock in that, we are up for an acceleration and change. And change isn't always easy, and sometimes it's bumpy, and sometimes change takes some wrong turns. And I hope in this process that as few people as possible are injured. And we're going to keep learning our lessons, and we're going to keep standing together, and we're going to keep supporting each other and making sure that everybody has a place at the table. So do what you need to do to feel safe, and know that there are groups, that there are allies. As my friend Greg Bush, newly appointed to local government in Columbia, Missouri, has taught me, look for the co-conspirators who are ready to work with you and be agents of change, and know that you are not alone. Know that we are coming together to make good change happen. Because from this feeling of safety, from this place where we know we can call on each other, From taking this opportunity to rest and to recover, we can drop back into, we can connect with our energy. We have to look for the ways in which we can be agents of change, where we can take action. Because in this world where all the headlines are coming at us all the times, there's a lot of ways in which we feel helpless. There's a lot of things that are outside of our control. And when we turn our attention to what is within our control, then we have so much more power. So we have just completed elections at the national level, but these local elections come up a lot more often. And now that we know which representatives we are going to be in communication with over the next few years, we can stay in touch because our system is one where we are represented by the people who have been elected in the 50 states, and apologies to Washington, D.C. But what we can do is we can stay in communication, right? This isn't a pop your head out of the sand every couple of years and take a beat on what's going on. This is our invitation to find ways to be involved. And if there is a group that you feel is being unfairly marginalized, I think there are a lot. If there is a group that you can get engaged with, that you can support, whether that is veterans' well-being, whether that is working with foster youth, whether that is working with refugees, whether that is working with the LGBTQIA community and helping people feel accepted as they are, then look for those opportunities to be engaged. After you're able to come from a place of feeling resourced and safe within yourself, then we can connect. Then we can be in action because we're not running on an empty tank. We can't leap into action before we have that foundation from which to work. So first take care of yourself and then look for collaborators. Look for the co-conspirators who are being agents of change in the ways that you feel are the most important. And be selective in where you put your energy. We can't burn ourselves out by trying to take action if you feel there's a shopping list of things that demand our attention. You can't do all of those things and still be the human being that we are. Show up for the work, pay the bills, pay the rent. If you're in California like I am, that's no small feat, right? So we need to take care of business. And we need to look for those ways in which we can take action to remind ourselves that we do have impact. We can make change in the world. And we can be a point of light for someone else. If you can reach out to one friend who is struggling right now and be a point of light for them, or you can lean on each other and look for opportunities for solace and support and ways in which you can take action together, then that is the best use for you. You need to do what aligns for you. Don't let pressure, don't let emails and texts and all of this that's going off and finding you on every platform tell you what is right for you. After your internal check-in, you're going to be better aware of what you're available for. We can't all be burned out. We've got to play the long game here, so stick with me. We are watching some change happen, and I believe overall the arc is to the greater good. So I do hope, as I was saying, we're getting a lot coming in on all channels, and now all of these activist groups are going to be sounding up even more if they've got your email or text, whatever side of things that you land on. Everybody is drumming up money right now to take action, and there's a lot of information coming in. So I do encourage you, I remind you, I always advocate you be selective about what you let in. Right? So unsubscribe from lists you don't need to be a member of. As I said, you can feel for a number of causes, but you can't take action on all of the causes. So choose where you're putting your energy and attention and try to turn down the volume as best you can on some of the more sensational news, on some of the more demanding requests for your support, and monitor that. Right? Again, this is your job. You are the custodian of your well-being. And so if you need to turn down the volume, and I think we all do need to turn down the volume, then it's for you to find the best ways to do that. So in terms of being able to move forward in terms of feeling like we are capable, we are confident, we are able to make change, as I've been talking about, from this internal locus of control, from this center where we can create some calm in the chaos, then we can start to move forward and move outward. So after we have been able to reconnect and find some modicum of balance, then we can reframe our perspective. We can be journaling right now. It's very important to let these thoughts find their way to be expressed. Again, to let these emotions be expressed, because they're going to run in series and none of this is linear. We're going to feel like we're on this cycle because life is cyclical. So let yourself be present to the process and be aware for the changes, because the more aware we are, the more able we are to respond to what we need so that we can keep moving forward or up the evolutionary path that we are on. If you feel like you're kind of spinning out and you're lacking direction, then take the opportunity, look for ways to set a couple of goals for yourself. What would you like to do? What feels aligned for you? And then go ahead and follow through with that. And then check in with yourself. Is that rewarding you in the way that you felt it would? Is it bringing you energy, or is it leaving you drained? If it's draining you, but you feel it's very important, how can you restore yourself so that you continue in that movement? Again, you are your best advocate. I'm here to be your cheerleader, but you know you better than anybody else. And that can be hard in this very loud world that we live in. We can get disconnected from who we are and what helps us thrive. So I encourage you to look for these opportunities, from checking in with yourself, journaling, making plans, checking back on your plans. This is how we can stay in movement and be moving forward in sustainable directions. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the power of connection, whether that's finding one collaborator, one person who you can see could use a little support if you have it to give, or someone who's of a like mind and you can look for ways to be in action together. Look for groups that share your interest. Look for groups that are active in protecting the environment, that are advocating for children's safety, that are helping people feel safe. Look for ways you can be involved. Again, because where we can take action, then we recognize that we do have power in the situation. We are not powerless. We have not had our power taken away from us. We can still be the powerful person that you are. You are a powerful being. And this place where we are, the lessons we are receiving, it all serves a purpose, right? As I said before, we grow through what we go through. There's all kinds of quaint little sayings about it, but suffice it to say, we're playing a long game here, and this story is far from over. I think it's important to, with this internal check-in, come back to where your values are, come back to what your priorities are, come back to what your most desired emotions are. That's something from a resource that I've been developing that I'll be sharing with an event that I'm doing right now, and I might dive into this in another episode. But these compass points, your values, your priorities, and your most desired emotions, help you be selective, as I've been saying, in a world where there are so many things clamoring for our attention. Aligning to yourself and then choosing the best way to move forward is a sustainable way to help keep showing up, to help fill your own cup so that you can have impact in the world. Lately, I have been working through with my group in Facebook, on the YouTube channel. I've been dropping daily videos. I have been sharing my Conquering Overwhelm series. It's a 21-day resilience plan. This is something that I created just within these last few months. In the second half of 2024, I created it for an event that I was a part of because it was something that I heard a lot of people talking about and I was feeling myself. We're all struggling with overwhelm. And it's no coincidence. It is synchronous that this series, now day 21, today is the third week that I've been sharing these daily videos, carried us through the election. when I needed it as much as some other people have told me they needed it too. What I've been hearing back has been really rewarding and fulfilling, and I'm grateful that I have this tool available to you. And so if you're a listener to the show and you're catching this episode shortly after it comes out, I want to invite you to check this out. This resource that I've created, there's a 40-page workbook. It is called Conquering Overwhelm, a 21-day plan for resilience. If you're on Facebook, I encourage you to join me in our Facebook group, Live with Less Stress, where you can find all of the videos. On YouTube, on my 3X Less Stress channel, those videos will be available for a limited time. So this resource is powerful, and as soon as I created it, I knew it didn't need to sit on somebody's bookshelf, right? We get great books. They sit around. You can't see what's outside the camera field, but I've got books waiting for my attention. But what does that really do for us, right? And so that's why I felt compelled to plan and to share this series with daily videos walking you through every one of our 21-day exercises. And so I will share the link of that also in the show notes. I encourage you, if this feels supportive to you, to check this out. Because as I kept coming back to in the conversation today, we have to start with ourselves. We have to start from a fully resourced and balanced place so that we can move forward and carry the work that we feel is important now. However, everything has landed for you, whether you feel like your side won, whether you feel like your side lost. Ultimately, we are all humans. We're all connected more deeply than perhaps we want to recognize, that we want to realize. But the well-being and the benefit of everybody is only going to lift us all up. So starting from the center, starting from yourself, starting by conquering overwhelm, by avoiding burnout, by feeling better resourced so we can move forward and stay plugged into the kind of change that we feel is important, so that we can be present to the conversations that might not be easy, but need to be happening, so we can understand that we have a lot more in common than what divides us. We have a lot of work to do, my friends. I'm really glad you're with me. I hope you'll check out this workbook. It's a free resource. There's a quick sign up link. You're not going to get a lot of emails. You're not going to get 21 days of emails to keep you on track. I'll show you where the videos are. You can take them in series. You can take them in the order that suits you best. I hope that you feel compelled to take some action for yourself, to remind yourself that you are a powerful being in this universe. You are a spark of light. I'm grateful for the light that you shine in the world. I'm glad to have you with me. And until we're back with another episode, I hope that you take good care of yourself and each other. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for listening. You'll find all the resources we discussed today online at happifiedlife.com, along with links to subscribe to Happified on your favorite player and a handy search tool so you can search all of our previous episodes. Help us grow by leaving a quick review and share this episode with a friend. Until next time, keep on shining.